Right to be Read podcast, episode number 19. Interview with the Amazon best-selling author, Cubbon.
You are listening to the Right to be Read podcast, and this is your host, Ani Alexander.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Right to be Read podcast, the podcast that inspires and encourages writers. I'm your host, Ani Alexander, and today I'm talking to Cubbon. Rob was a freelance designer before he started blogging in 2005. He started his own web and graphic design company in 2006, with all of his clients coming from his website. By 2008, he was able to stop freelancing completely to permanently run his business from home. Since then, he has been building up his passive income from various sources, including Kindle books and online video courses. He is happy to answer any of your questions, and his email is rob@robcubbon.com. Hi Rob, how are you?
Hello Annie, so nice to be here. Thank you for calling me and having me on your show.
Well, thank you for accepting my invitation, because I know that everyone is too busy, especially the writers are too busy writing. So thanks for taking the time and talking to me.
Pleasure, Annie.
So what I would like to talk about is mainly writing, of course, writing books, self-publishing, and it will be, we will cover the topics for our listeners, mainly to show that it's the success is possible, that it's not extremely hard, and that if their dream is to become a writer, it's a very possible and achievable thing.
That's good. I go along with that, Annie. Every word you said there.
So what about your journey? I'm sure you were not a writer from the very start. What did you do? Were you in corporate? Did you have dull corporate office work like many of us did?
Actually, I didn't, Annie. I was even worse than that because I couldn't work for a corporation because I found it so terrible and boring. So I went freelance very early on, when I was very young, which meant that all I did was to go around different offices in London and work in a cubicle, swapping hours for dollars. And I was doing some mundane sort of typesetting, sort of technical design work. And I did that for a long time in London. So I didn't have one boss. I had many, many bosses, and I just go around to different places all the time. That's what I was doing.
Oh, I see. So I presume you didn't enjoy it that much, huh?
I think that would be an understatement, Annie.
Okay, so what, I'm sure there are so many people who don't enjoy what they are doing, but they never take the step to change anything, actually. And what many of them just does is complain. So what happened to you? What happened to make you decide and change everything and make the first step towards the changes?
Well, Annie, I've got to say I was no different, and I certainly did my fair share of complaining as well. But what made me change was I was very lucky to start a WordPress blog back in 2006. Which is quite a long time ago, 8 years ago now, which is why I always go on about blogging. Because 8 years ago, it was quite easy. It was more easy. There were less blogs around, of course. Now it's more competitive. And so I blogged and blogged and blogged and blogged. And that started everything for me. I mean, the writing came much later. Although that was writing, because I was writing blog posts, but I was only writing blog posts at first. But it helped me because it meant I could get work at home. I didn't have to go out to these horrible offices and do really dull work. I nearly said a bad word there, but I won't because it's a podcast. But, bad work, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can imagine.
And so I was getting better work. I was getting more enjoyable design work from home through my blog. So that's what started it for me. It was starting a website and a WordPress blog.
Okay, so we can say that the WordPress blog was both the first writing experience as well as it became the ground of your upcoming business, right?
Absolutely correct. Yeah, I did enjoy writing at school, but I didn't really do much of it when I was older. And so, yeah, the blog was definitely the ground, or I guess it's what would you call it? The platform, the original platform for my business, yeah.
And so you were blogging, you were getting different design orders, right?
Yeah.
Through your blog. And what happened next? I mean, how did the idea of writing a book come to your mind? And once you had the idea, how did you start taking the practical steps about that?
Actually, I was not thinking about this before because I was just thinking about Kindle with you. But actually, I sold a couple of, I don't know if you know this, I have a couple of PDF ebooks on my site, which I started that before I started Kindle. I wouldn't say that's the best thing to do. It's just the way I did it. I tell you why, because I was not into reading on Kindles or tablets at the time, and I only got into that comparatively recently. So, I was just looking for ways to make money online, actually, and more passive income rather than doing my design projects, which, of course, is active income. So I started... I put one ebook on my site, first of all. After collecting email addresses, I started collecting email addresses with a free ebook, of course, and then I put a paid ebook on the site, and I think that would have been 3 years ago now, and since I've got two there now, so that was the start, and it was only towards the end of last year where I started on Kindle.
Okay, so the first ebooks, when did you write those?
That would have been about 3 or 4 years ago now, Annie.
Okay, so we can say that you have quite relatively long experience of writing, if we also take into consideration the blogging as well. So you've been there for quite a while, and it's nonfiction, right? We're talking about nonfiction.
That's correct. Yeah, the ebooks are about. One of them's called. These are the ones for sale on my site. One of them is called "How to Market Yourself Online," which is a terrible title. That's just so general. It's never sold very well. And then the other one is called "Running a Web Design Business," which is similar to the one I have on Kindle, and that does sell much better because it's more specific. It's a better title. You can see. I hope your audience can benefit from my stupidity and see immediately how one title is better than the other there.
Yeah, well, amazing how all elements affect sales and affect how readers perceive the books, because we were talking about the title here. The same goes for the book cover as well. So those are the things which are not about the books, the content of the book, but those are the things which potential readers see first, and it either attracts or doesn't, and then they might not even get into the content. So those two are really, really crucial. And I'm sure if you think and maybe rephrase the first ebook's title, maybe it will work better as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a good idea. I've just got into Kindle much more, so I haven't been thinking about that. But that's a good idea, Annie. I should think about that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we can come up with some ideas together if you want. Although I'm not really good in nonfiction books because I've never written any of those, but still.
No, but you're good with titles.
Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I think you'd probably be a good coach for a non-Kindle author as well.
Okay, so you mentioned ebooks and you mentioned Kindle. There are many other platforms besides Kindle, like the iBooks and the Kobo, etc. Why did you decide to? You have it only on Kindle, right? The book you have, or you're sharing all the platforms?
It's a good question. At this moment in time, it's just on Kindle, and I'm just about to get into the other platforms, Annie. And to answer your question that I think you were going to ask, why did I start on Kindle? I just thought that Amazon was the biggest market out there. It was the one I was using. I finally managed to I bought a tablet and I got the Kindle app, and I just got obsessed with it. I just thought, oh my God, this is a great way to read books and get information. And so that's why I started on Kindle. And also I wanted to make use of the KDP Select program. And it's great, but I'm really looking forward to putting them out on the other platforms now, because I think I've got the most out of KDP Select that I'm ever going to get, and now I'm going to go off onto the other platforms. So I'm looking forward to that.
And now, since you are going to have the book in many other places as well, do you have any plan about how to market those? Because I mean, I'm familiar with Kindle only and their KDP Select tools, which can help you promote the book. I'm not familiar with the other ones. Do you have any plan about how to go with the book?
I don't have any plan at all. All I do know is that I'm very lucky. I'm in London, UK, and I'm a member of it's actually a meetup group, and we meet every month. And it's actually called the London Kindle or something like that group. But there's people there who are on these other platforms, and so they can help me with that. And so far, from what I've heard, I think they just put it up there. I don't think they do any particular marketing on the other platforms. But somebody has told me that they sell really well on Google Play. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that too, but I've never investigated actually. So maybe we should think about that as well.
Yeah, we'll do another episode on that.
Yeah, I'll have to mention this also in some of the episodes. So, can you tell me about the emotional part when you finished writing your book? And since I've read the book, which is on Kindle, I've noticed that it's quite personal. So it's not fiction, but it also covers quite a lot from your personal life as well. How comfortable did you feel sharing all those moments with the potential readers, with people you don't know? And what did you feel once the book was out there and people started downloading it?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because actually that was my third book on Kindle, and up until then, and on my blog and everywhere, I've really been sticking to very technical books about running a web design business and doing video courses, and books about WordPress and online marketing. So it's very easy subject matter. I know I just get it technically right. I know what I'm talking about, and I can help people. And then this book, From Freelancer to Entrepreneur, for some reason, I don't know, I was sitting down late at night, and I was thinking, I really should put everything in this, and explain exactly what happened, rather than just talk about work, really. And instead of talking about work, I started talking about meditation and what was going on in my personal life, and because it gave the whole picture, it was kind of gave the full story about really what was happening, because the book was about how I left corporate, which, as I explained earlier, wasn't even corporate. It was freelancing. But how I left a boring job and started working on my own at home, and really enjoying the work more than I ever had, more than I ever thought was possible. I certainly never thought I'd end up running my own business or anything like this. So, but it was Yeah, there was more to it. So I don't know why I decided to do it, Annie. I just did it. And how did I feel? Yeah, it was scary. It was scary, but I kind of, I found it less scary than I would have done if I put it in the blog. I never put any of that stuff in the blog, and I thought I'd just put it on the Kindle, and we'll see what happens, And so far, hopefully, because I can get a bit sensitive. I have had bad reviews on other books, which again is a technical thing, and you shouldn't really be bothered about these things, and you really shouldn't let them get to you. But I haven't had any bad reviews on that book where I was more vulnerable because it was more personal. So far it's been okay.
Okay, and do you see any difference in terms of sales between the other two books, which were not personal, and this last one?
Yes, I'm afraid that one. It's funny because that one gets really good reviews because people like the personal angle, but it doesn't sell as well as the other two.
Okay, I see. Well, maybe because it's this unique mix of nonfiction and personal story. Because I don't know. I mean, I've read lots of books, but I've never read something from that angle. I mean, maybe it reminds me somehow the book of Stephen King on writing, because there also he writes about writing topics and his advice about writing, but also in the book there are many personal stories. So I don't know, maybe it's because nonfiction readers are waiting or are used to typical nonfiction standard books. But I think that on long term this one should do better.
I think you've got a point. I think it's interesting you said about Stephen King's book, because I had read that recently, just before I wrote that. So that must have that maybe it came out a bit there.
Maybe you were influenced by Stephen.
Yeah, maybe I was actually. I hadn't thought of that, but the two things were very close together. So probably I was, and I think you're right as well. It's kind of maybe the category in Amazon. I can't remember what exactly the category it's in, but it's kind of difficult to put it in a category. Is it business or is it personal development? It's difficult.
Well, you choose two categories on Kindle actually, so you can choose two different.
It's true. I think I have, and also I changed them as well. I think I've changed the category once to see if I could get more sales, but it doesn't seem to be working for that one at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I see. And how are you acquiring your readers actually? Through your blog only, or you're doing social media, or what exactly are you doing to get more readers?
Definitely, the best thing, the best advice I can have for readers is to have an email list on your website, because I've been collecting email addresses for more than 4 years now, maybe five years or so. So whenever I put a new book out on Kindle, I always email them and say, actually I email them twice. I say, first of all, I say it's out there for 99 cents. Mm-hmm. Although it will be for free later. And so some of them buy it at 99 cents, which makes Amazon think, this guy's pretty popular, And also I get a few reviews. I ask them for reviews, and your email list will always give you good reviews. Well, not always, but they're more likely to. So that's good. And then I tell them about the free book as well, which is only, which I should do, of course. And then I find that gives a bit of momentum to the book, and then you get organic Amazon sales after that. After that, I don't bother do any, just minimum social media, but very little.
Okay, since you mentioned that, I would like also to tell my listeners about the mistake I made before. So I also had a list, but my blog, unfortunately, it was a self-development blog, and I wrote fiction. So that list wasn't really relevant for my books because the audience was different, the target was different. And although I addressed that list, but it actually didn't really work because those were not the right people. So the right thing would be doing like you did, having the list which is relevant to what you wrote about. So your blog apparently and your books are in the same line, in the same target line, and that is why it worked so well, I guess.
Yeah, you're right there. It's definitely the similar sort of subject matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I had this. I was really surprised. Like, oh, how come I've sent out this mail and I had this high open rate, and then later on, absolutely no effect from the mailing list. How come it doesn't have any effect? And then when I thought about it, I realized that those people might not even read fiction at all. So it's just it makes no sense for them.
Yes, and also a lot of people don't read Kindles. I mean, a lot of people just read paperbacks. I think you're absolutely right. But my email list would have been very, very targeted to my Kindle books. Yeah, perfectly targeted. That's true.
Okay, so now in general, what are the biggest components you're working on? So you have your blog. From your blog, you have your design orders, and you have Kindle books, and you're writing Kindle books. I know that you also have online courses and a membership site.
Yeah. The membership site's just coming on now. It's not really. I haven't really launched it properly, but yeah, it's beginning. Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the whole thing like one big business project, what role do the books play in that?
There are to me the books are another passive income stream, and very importantly. The books are kind of authority because I can, people see me as a published author. I think that's quite important, even in this day and age where self-publishing is quite easy. I just think it makes a whole lot of difference to you as a business person or you as a person to say that you've got a book on Amazon. I just think it's so great. And I have them on CreateSpace as well, so I can go around it to meet people at events and say, give them my book, and it's just I think it's just a really great thing if you have a message, if you have something you want to communicate to people. It doesn't get better than writing a book, I think. So it's an important part of my business. It's not just the income.
Okay, so besides the income, it's add up on your reputation, and it makes credibility, and people perceive you as an expert in your field.
Absolutely, and it increases the audience as well because I'm on Amazon, which is a huge, great website that everyone goes on every day.
Okay, so then from the books, the people who read your book, you have most probably a link to your blog, to your website?
Absolutely, yeah, and a link to the page, where they can enter their email address, of course. That's really important.
So it's a landing page they go to, a special landing page just for your readers, or?
It's a general landing page, but it's I don't have one specifically for Kindle. I could do, but I haven't got around to it. It's just a general landing page.
I see. And do you have, after you published, especially this last book, the more personal one, do you get any direct feedback from readers? Not just reviews, but people who email you or get in touch with you on social media saying, okay, we read your book and this and that.
Yeah, I have been getting more and more emails every day, and it's not just, and it's often I get two sorts of emails, or three. Maybe some will say, "Hi Rob, I've been reading your blog, blah blah blah." Some say, "Hi Rob, I've bought your book, blah blah blah," and some say, "Hi Rob, I've taken your course on Udemy, blah blah." Blah, blah. And it's the course and the books that are most because they're personal, because they have personal contact with me through a book or a course, and they start sending me emails, and I'm getting definitely more and more a day. More of my day is taken up writing emails and getting messages on social media as well.
Well, I see this tendency with many people. As soon as they become relatively popular, they get overwhelmed with emails. And recently, when I was approaching people to do interviews for the podcast, I ended up receiving responses from their VAs. So apparently having a book becomes more popular these days as well. And that's one of the solutions people take for not being overwhelmed by emails, I guess.
Yes, it's a good idea, but I just think, how do you do that? Because my emails, they just take so long to answer because they're so specific. The questions they ask are really difficult to answer.
Yeah, well, it's a really difficult topic because I personally think that having a VA also might damage the engagement and relationship with your readers or potential clients as well. So it's something I'm not really sure about. But I know many very successful people who are using those services and who feel much happier because at least they get the free time to spend on more productive things, on writing the books, on spending the time with family, etc. So I don't know. I mean, it's a very controversial and difficult topic to address. But maybe we'll talk about this in a separate episode as well because it's becoming very popular these days.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I will ask this, although I already know the answer. But do you regret about anything if you look back at the past and what you've done, or do you think about things that you should have done earlier or you had to do but you didn't? When you look back in retrospect, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm interested to know what you think I'm going to say because you said you know the answer.
Well, I know for sure that you don't regret about leaving that boring job and making the big changes in your life. That
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, that's for sure. But no, the thing about regret is that I try not to think about the past at all. In when you start meditating, the practice of meditation is to concentrate on the present moment and view it non-judgmentally. And you realise that that's the best way for your mind, because if you think about the past and the future, it's just basically either regret or fear or worry, and those are all three sort of painful emotions. So I try to view the past as a learning experience, and concentrate on the present moment, as I found that is the best way to live your life, and it's kind of the best way to achieve balance and harmony in your life. So I mean, there's loads of things I I could regret because I had a very sort of negative lifestyle at one stage. But then, on the other hand, I could say, well, that was my education. It just took me a long time learning because I was just so stupid, and the benefits came to me later in life, and for whatever reason, that's my thing, and that's good for me. So I should I should say that I more or less I regret nothing, but I am so happy, and I'm very grateful for what I have at this present moment.
Okay, so you're happy at this point with where you are now?
Well, I'm talking to you, Annie, so I'm very happy.
Okay. And what about where you would like to be? Like, I mean, what are your plans for the future? Will you continue writing books? Will you continue creating online courses? Or maybe you're thinking about something new to add up to what you already have?
Yeah, I've got 2 books coming soon. I've nearly written one, and I've half written another, and I've got more courses to do, and I've got more to do on my membership site as well. I want to obviously get that sort of finished and up and running.
So you're quite busy these days.
Yeah. I guess I am, and you could say that. And in the future, I want to do. I want to sort of help other people set up businesses and do what we're doing successfully as well, and hopefully as well do a bit more travelling, because I've been stuck in London for 1.5 years now, and it's I think, oh my God, I need to get away.
Okay, well, I think traveling brings up new ideas and positively influences creativity. So changing places is quite useful for writers.
Yeah, definitely.
And writers usually have 2 big problems. It's the time and also the lack of ideas. Very often they don't know what to write about. So how do you manage your time? How do you find time to write your books, since you already have 2 coming? And what influences your creativity? Where do you get new ideas, or do you have any problem getting new ideas at all or not?
Yeah. Okay. So on the productivity side, I'm probably the last person you want to talk to about that, because I'm so bad at it. I don't have a plan for the day. It's just dreadful. So I am not the right person to talk to about productivity. I just everyone's different, and I've read these books about productivity that say write lists and do this, do that, and I mean I'm always working at 2:00 in the morning. I never know where I am. But I do get things done somehow, and so I'm the wrong person to talk to about productivity.
Crushed all productivity theories at this moment.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, I just don't.
Because you have 3 books already published, you have 2 coming up, and you have all these other things you're dealing with, and you're not. You say that you're not really following any productivity tips, and you're not managing your time very well. Yeah. So I can imagine if you did, how much you would have done by now already.
I know that's a bit of a bad thought, isn't it? I have to try again these blooming productivity tips.
If it works for you the way you do, I guess there's no need to change anything.
Maybe everyone's different and everyone works in a different way. I don't know. I think I should get up. I think I shouldn't. Yeah, I think I should improve certain aspects of my life, which I'm going to try to. But to answer your question, I'll talk about the things that I do well, or the things that might help your audience, rather than tell them the things I do badly, and that might help. And I think the things that do well is blogging. I think blogging, because you have to come up with an idea every week, so if that helps develop your idea muscle. If you can use that that terminology. I think that helps. I think the blogging helps the writing. I wrote most of a book in 2 weeks because I had a talk coming up at a local meetup, and so I wrote it in 2 weeks. And I use dictation software as well, and I just tried to do 1,000 words a day. And I think some days I did, most days I did 1,000 words, or a bit less. I think that's it. To answer your question,
Do you have editor who edits your books later on, or it's just you?
yeah, the last one I did, and I will be doing it from now on. Although I edit it myself, but when I finished, I hand it over to somebody who at least copy checks it.
Okay, so what would be your advice to newbie writers who are just starting, based on your experience and what you already know? What are the key points they should keep in their minds while starting writing a new book?
Well, because I'm like a scratched record with blogging, I always say the same thing. I would advise new writers to start a blog and blog regularly, because if you do, as I was saying just earlier, it will exercise the idea muscle, and it will show you what's popular and what's not popular. So certain blog posts will do better than others, and ask yourself, why is this doing better than the other? And that will give you more ideas for successful subjects to write books on. So whether you want to do that, maybe you don't want to, write about popular subjects, but I still think blogging will give you the ideas, at least for the writing. And other than that, I would say just do it every day. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good idea if you keep doing it every day.
I think having a blog is very useful also because I'm sure that if readers read and liked your book, they would like to go somewhere to know about you a bit more or to connect with you somehow. So a blog can be that hub where they can get more information and follow up and become a fan later on.
Yeah, and give you your email address as well. Give you their email address. You can do it there.
Exactly. These days, those are so important, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, and the last question, I guess, social media. It's what is it for you? You use it for personal reasons, or you incorporate your business into it? How much time do you spend there? Is it productive time or just wasting the time? How do you deal with social media?
Yeah, I try and keep it down to a minimum because I think it's not productive. It's not productive in terms of promoting for me. I don't get sales from social media, but I do meet interesting people like yourself, Annie, and get good advice there. But it's hit and miss because obviously for all the good advice, there's about 10 cat pictures. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So for me, it's something that there's some great Facebook groups for Kindle, obviously. So great advice, but try and keep it down to an absolute minimum.
Okay, so in short, if we can say that it's useful, but if it's used in a certain limited time.
Absolutely, exactly, yeah.
Okay, so any, favorite quote or something that may, as a last thing, that may encourage our newbie writers?
I don't know.
Your quote.
I would say my favorite quote. It's not a quote, but I would say that they can do it. You know, whatever you want to do, you can do it. I think that's important, and as long as you keep trying every day, it might not seem as though it's possible, but I can tell you it is possible. Definitely, whatever you want to do, you can do it.
Well, actually, the idea of these interviews came just because of that. I want them to listen to people who did it and to see live examples that it's possible. So yes, it definitely it's possible, and if they want it bad enough, it will happen.
Yeah, and I should say congratulations, Annie, on this podcast. I think, you're doing it really well. I'm really impressed what you've done so far, and you've only just started. And I just think it's a great resource and a great idea. So well done you.
Oh, thanks a lot. Well, I mean, I've been thinking about this since 2 years already. But, like many other people, I just thought about that, but didn't do anything in practice. Plus, I wasn't really sure about my accent, so
well, as I say, I'm a big fan of your accent, Annie.
Thank you. Well, then I thought, okay, as long as the listeners understand what I'm saying, then it should be okay.
I'm sure everyone understands you. So it's really good. It's an asset, I would say.
Okay, thanks a lot for coming over to the show. Thanks a lot for all the nice advice and for sharing your stories as well. And we wish you success with all your new upcoming books.
Thank you, Annie. Thanks for having me on the show, and I wish you and your audience success as well.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I did. And before I leave you, I'd like to tell that I have a new habit. Every morning, I'm checking to see if there are any new reviews of my podcast on iTunes. Those reviews make my day and encourage me to continue doing what I'm doing. So if you'd like to boost my mood with sparing less than a minute, please make sure to leave a review of my podcast on iTunes. Well, that was it for today. I have a lot more coming up soon, so stay tuned and meet you again soon.